Yo, so what's going on, Battlefielders? My name is Ponester. I'm here to talk to you guys a little bit about Battlefield. Not necessarily a certain title, game, or gameplay. I'm here to talk to you guys about the history and future of Battlefield and other successful titles. What I want to talk to you guys about is something that I mentioned a couple days ago in that Battlefield 4 video. The video where I talked about the reveal coming in potentially 90 days, and, you know, all the details about that being on the next-gen console. All those goodies. I told you guys I was going to make a video in a couple days about the possibility of Battlefield be coming out year after year after year. So, that's what this commentary is going to be based about. That's what you guys can get excited for. I saw a lot of, I guess, concern on that video and other videos because a lot of people, long-term veterans or Battlefield elitists or anything like that do not like the idea, do not like the concept behind releasing a Battlefield title year after year because they're afraid. For simple fear that the game is going to come out unprepared. You know, it's going to lack its potential. There's not enough time because, as you guys know, a little bit of extra time on anything can allow you to get that perfection that you're looking for, or at least a little bit farther along in the progress of creating a great title. Most people fear that the resources aren't there and the game's not going to be to the caliber that they are wanting, and it scares them that their game is going to change. Now, change happens everywhere. That's the one thing you can guarantee that every person goes through. That's the one thing we all have in common, and that is change. And I don't always think change is a wrong or bad thing. In this video, I'm going to tell you a couple things about the potential, I guess, growth of Battlefield becoming a year-to-year title. And there's a couple things that I can tell you that would be good alongside it because it would benefit it, and probably something that you have not previously known about, and you'd probably, I guess, smooth over and relieve yourself a little bit, knowing that, that's a bad choice of words, and knowing that it's going to be a little bit smoother if this is actually the case. Now, the only other game that we know that's successful, that goes year to year, is Call of Duty. Now, over the last 3 or 4 years, they have worked their asses off to progress and make that game better. You know, it's always been like one of those. They do have 2 entire developer teams. They have 2 entire groups and organizations working on it. You've got Treyarch and Infinity Ward, Sledgehammer, whatever, and they alternate each year. So technically, they still have a game that works for each one of them, every other year. So they do have a title released every year, but 2 different organizations work on them, and they get 2 years apiece to work on them, which is a good, relaxing thing. So those games still come out about as frequently as a Battlefield title does, except for they have 2 different groups working on it, which is a possibility. And the reason this whole idea and this whole commentary came about is because EA addressed the fact that Medal of Honor Warfighter had extremely poor reception. What they did is they made it clear that they're not going to be creating this game again anytime soon. They realized that this is not going to be in the rotation year to year, bi-yearly. We're probably, if ever, going to see a Medal of Honor again. It's going to be in 2 or 3 years. So it's extremely unlikely that we will see Medal of Honor Warfighter again, in my opinion. The 2010 release was absolutely flawed. People stopped playing it in the first week. Medal of Honor Warfighter lasted about 2 weeks. Again, the game wasn't bad. Don't get me wrong, the game wasn't really bad. But it wasn't enough to bring in the Call of Duty crowd, and it wasn't along the lines of Battlefield enough to retain those guys that wanted to, I guess, accept this game. So it kind of started to fall off, and the sales were just not there. So EA decided, hey, we're just going to straight neuter Medal of Honor. It's not going to be here anymore. But what they did say, and I quote, is they want to bring year-over-year continuity to our shooter offerings, meaning they are definitely exploring the possibility of bringing in or enhancing one of their current shooters to become that gap, that void fill for Battlefield. That, or, which I think is more likely and, in my opinion, going to be more beneficial, is to actually release a Battlefield title every year. Now, how they could do that is simple. They can either bring in, assets. Obviously, you had Danger Close and DICE working together for a while. I wouldn't be against Danger Close potentially working on a Battlefield title. Some people may not be okay with that. But again, if it means a Battlefield title every year, I'm okay with that. Now, a lot of people are concerned with this kind of stuff. What they did promise is to bring a year-over-year thing. And when they asked to clarify what was going on, they stated that it was really about a hit missing, but the rest of the studios have really performed and delivered on their goals. EA and them have been talking about how their lead powerhouses are FIFA and Battlefield. Those are the 2 that just carry the reins. They're the ones that lead everything into it. Now, I'm really, really with Battlefield releasing a year-to-year title. As pissed off as I have been with Call of Duty over the years, it is really, really flawed. They work on it for about a month or two to try to limit everything else, and they move on to the next project. Yes, sometimes you're left with, flaws and mistakes. But again, at least that means every year you got 3 or 4 months of good playing before things start to get frustrating. And that's about the period where everybody's at a Battlefield. People got pissed off with USS Frag Rounds and all these other issues, and we got through it, right? We're a little bit more tolerant on the Battlefield side because we haven't been let down like the Call of Duty side has. Now, that's something that would, I guess, cross over if they were to release a yearly Battlefield. That we would, I guess, limit our tolerance for what we're, used to dealing with them. They do have the betas, which would allow us to give feedback, and they'd have about a month or two to work on this. So my opinion is that if they did try to create a Battlefield year-to-year, title or anything like that, that they would probably bring in more people to obviously work on them. I think they would try to, if they were smart, they would try to operate and create them with 2 different groups of people, and they can work on them bi-yearly, if you know what I mean, just like how Call of Duty does, so that we can still get consistently solid titles. And I think that's the best thing, in my honest opinion. They tried and grinded their ass off to create new DLC, new weapons, vehicles, all that good stuff. They really, really did work their ass off on trying to keep the game fresh, even after it should have died. And that's something worth doing. I mean, if they would have given up on the DLC and maybe just did 1 or 2 of them, and I guess put all those resources into creating the next Battlefield or something, rather than working on future DLC, they could have potentially had another solid game intact. And understand that first Medal of Honor that they created, DICE did finish from start to finish in 6 months. And for that being such a short period program, for them to come in there and work on the multiplayer of the first Medal of Honor, well, not the first, but the reboot in 2010, shows that they do have the potential and resources to do that while still juggling other games they're working on. I, for one, think that's a good sign. That's something that you got to remember. Now, one thing that I do want to address about this, what so many people are worried about, is that a flawed game is going to come out and they're not going to patch it. How many times throughout Battlefield 3 did they say, fuck it, we're just going to patch your stuff every time a new DLC comes out? Every 3 months, we'll patch whatever we think's broken. We'll listen to the community. We'll do so. And the reason they waited so long was simply because money. It was far too expensive. It was tens of thousands of dollars to patch these games. They want these patches, this and that and this and that. We can't go in there to fix a graphics glitch. You could deal with that for 3 months. And even those things that we thought were extremely major were gone. I mean, some things they didn't listen to the community. I felt the majority of the community was against suppression, but they let it stay. And I believe it's supposed to be coming back in Battlefield 4 if the rumors are there. I don't know if it's going to be as bad or worse or how it's going to work, but we'll see in due time. Hopefully in a few days, in roughly 90 days. But the one thing that you have to understand, why I definitely am okay getting behind the chance of a Battlefield title coming out every year, is because of the next-gen consoles. Next-gen consoles are changing everything, and specifically the details that I know about the new Xbox coming out. The major issues were it was like 10 grand to put a patch on the Xbox or something like that. It was some ridiculous number. So of course, them as a company, for business reasons, they're not going to spend out, 30 grand extra every 3 months to patch a couple little things that they goofed up on. So they're not going to spend that excess money that there's no need to in their mind. They've already earned their money. You guys have already bought premium. Why spend and throw out, all this extra money to perfect a game that they've already made their money on? That's logic in my mind. That's business. So what's going to be changing is with the next gen consoles is patching is going to be quick and it's going to be cheap. They're going to be able to patch 10 or 20 times for the price that it used to cost one time to patch. Which means when we do have flaws, when there are problems, at the release of a new game, it'll be far smoother, easier, and I guess a lot cheaper to patch these things. So therefore, from a business standpoint, I do feel comfortable knowing that they could patch these things. If we have a problem within a week, it should be patched. Within 2 weeks, it should be patched. And it should be relatively cheap to do so. With the new things that's going on, I forget exactly what it's called with the Xbox, but they got this new system set up. Everything is going to be so much smoother, so much easier to use. I expect that the same thing's going to be over on the PlayStation 4. PC, no problem to patch, no problem to work with. And with the things that are coming out, I'm excited behind that. They could bring in more people to work, and release these titles year to year and make still consistently solid titles. I mean, there are always going to be flaws in games. There's always going to be things we dislike about Battlefield. They did try their hardest to patch and balance weapons. I do applaud them for all their effort. But again, like I said, that's something that excites me. I am for the idea of Battlefield. I after trying, after being a Call of Duty guy, playing Call of Duty for 3 years, 4 years straight, and getting a new title every year, that excited me. I like that. I grinded out as much as I could, played 6 months of it, got bored with it. So what? So be it. But waiting 2 years for a Battlefield title was really, really murder. It really, really sucked. The game stayed solid for 6 months, maybe 8 months, until things started irritating me. I started getting upset a little bit more about M16s. I started getting upset a little bit more about suppression, things that months ago didn't affect me. So that's where I stand on it. Let me know what you guys think below. Are you guys for Battlefield titles being there every year? I do like the excitement and consistency behind that, and I know that there aren't too many resources out there for them to cling on to create a year-to-year shooter like they promised. So I think it is very possible, and actually it's what I would prefer, is to see a Battlefield title every year. Like I said, all it would take is a little bit more resources, a few more workers, and they actually do have the potential to create a solid Battlefield title every year. Now, that's where I stand. Let me know what you guys think. Drop a comment down below. Be sure to drop a like rating on the video, as it does help out a lot. And again, guys, hope you enjoy your day. Peace out. Get it.